welcome now Mr. Adama Dieng, former Undersecretary General and Special Advisor on the Prevention of Genocide. Welcome, Mr. Adama Dieng. As I was saying, Mr. Dieng is a former United Nations Undersecretary General and a Special Advisor of the Secretary General on the Prevention of Genocide, a position that he held from July 2012 to July 2020. He's also a former founding board member of the prestigious International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance. In 2001, the late Kofi Annan, whom I have to say here we all miss very sorely when it comes to peace activities around the world today, Kofi Annan appointed His Excellency Mr. Dieng as Registrar of the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, a position he held until 2008. Before joining the UN, Mr. Dieng was for 10 years the Secretary General of the Geneva-based International Commission of Jurists, that was between 1990 and 2000. And during that time, he was appointed as UN Independent Expert for Haiti. In 1993, he also served as the UN Secretary General Envoy to Malawi. He was the driving force behind the establishment of the African Court of Human People's Rights and the African Court of Human and People's Rights, and produced the draft of the African Convention to Fight Corruption. He's worked with institutions like the International Committee for the Red Cross, which is well known for its principles regarding humanitarian work. Mr. Dieng was born in Senegal, where he graduated in law. He also holds a certificate from the Research Center of the Hague Academy of International Law and a certificate on Homeland Security from the Paris Institute of International High Studies. Currently, Mr. Dieng is a member of the UN Internal Justice Council and Special Advisor to the Higher Committee of Human Fraternity, and he's also the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court. So you can see we're dealing here with a very well-acclaimed human rights expert and lecturer on issues relating to international human law, human rights law, and international criminal justice. And he's received as such many honorific distinctions throughout the world. Adama Dieng, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Your Highness, Royal Highness. Let me first of all just say that I'm not the prosecutor of the ICC, but the special advisor of the ICC prosecutor. Ladies and gentlemen, young women and men present today, greetings. I would like to start by appreciating my dear friend Ramos Horta for convening us today. This platform, Ubuntu United Nations, is extraordinary. Extraordinary for it builds on two key values: African Ubuntu togetherness, I am because you are, and unity of purpose, we the peoples, the opening phrase of the Charter of the United Nations. And on this occasion, a happy UN Day to all of us. Thank you for bringing us together on this first edition to discuss a pivotal issue for our time: bridge building, igniting youth action for unity in diversity. Thank you also to the Ubuntu United Nations partners for believing in the vision put forth by Ramos Horta and the incredible change makers present here today, who are committed to building back better and stronger in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and to the many challenges we face. We are here today to commit to quick wins while building on our long-term vision and hope for world peace and harmony. The United Nations turned 76 years old last September. In its youth, the organization committed that it was not created to take mankind to heaven, but to save humanity from hell. Hence, the critical importance of the 2030 Agenda, which is our best effort to create together the conditions to build societies that thrive and not only survive over the next 10 years. Despite our strong and continued engagement, we must face the harsh reality that the COVID-19 pandemic is threatening all efforts we have led on this front. This pandemic, this time we are living and experiencing as one humanity, has clearly showed us that we need to serve people and the planet first. This reality applies now more than ever, and young people have a key role to play to build the way forward. But to be able to build better forward together, we need to set up a strong foundation of dialogue, understanding, and dignity. We see it and we hear it each and every day. Our world is divided, polluted, mostly driven by negative polarization that takes the central stage of our global consciousness. Disagreement is part of the human living experience. However, disagreeing with one another should not make us enemies. It should make us better listeners and better friends. Now, you may wonder, how do we set up this strong foundation of dialogue, understanding, and dignity to move forward together? Firstly, through identity, by centering the Ubuntu value that make us brothers and sisters in humanity, regardless of our skin colors, our hair type, our political views, or geographical location. Our shared human identity brings us together. We are because others are too. Secondly, through partnership. The reality is that we need each other. No one functions alone. And if your dreams include just you, they are too small. So, partner with your fellow builders, your fellow dreamers, your sisters and brothers, so that together we can deliver on our commitment and vision for a more peaceful and sustainable world. Thirdly, through participation. Remember that no voice is too small or inadequate to have a say, to share their opinion positively, to move the discussion forward. So take a stand. You are here at the Ubuntu United Nations, which is a sign of your commitment to being active and to change the ongoing negative narrative. My call on you is to go home and to mobilize all the young people around you so that they too hear the message of hope. Last but not least, through progress. Humanity has made incredible progress, particularly in the last 100 years. Progress may be slow, but it is inevitable when we work together as one humanity. My daily work at the Rwanda Tribunal, which was set up by the Security Council to try those responsible of the genocide of the Tutsis in Rwanda, was a reminder that accountability for war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide is an important part of peace building or reconciliation between communities and for forging peace within society. That peace cannot be achieved by ending the conflict. Peace without justice, we were reminded by Her Highness, is not the real peace. It is a driver for another conflict. Justice is not retribution. It is not an act of revenge. It is not about putting one community above another. Justice should work for the benefit of all. It should be in the interest of all the society to pursue the truth, know what happened, and support victims from all communities and repair the harm they incurred and embark upon institutional reforms to ensure. That was the road Nelson Mandela had chosen when establishing the TRC led by Reverend Desmond Tutu. Learning the truth and giving voice to victims is the first step towards reconciliation. Dealing with the past is dealing with the present. Dealing with the past is the way to a just future. Justice process enables us to deal with difficult issues. Young women and men present today, I'm so glad that Ubuntu United Nations is providing you with the much needed platform for continued conversation on the critical role of youth in our collective quest to promote peaceful coexistence among communities and nations. We constantly need to remind ourselves that freedoms which democracy brings will remain empty shell if it is not accompanied by real and tangible improvements in the material lives of the millions of ordinary citizens in those countries. The greatest single challenge facing our globalized world is to combat and eradicate its disparities. For you all gathered here today, I challenge you. You owe it to the world, to your generation, and those who will come after you, to continue advocating, despite all the challenges and hurdles, for a fairer and just world where humanity can peacefully coexist and live in dignity, and diversity in differences are celebrated as a source of unity and strength. When men and women and children go burdened with hunger, suffering from preventable diseases, languishing in ignorance and illiteracy, or finding themselves bereft of decent shelter, talk of democracy and freedom that does not recognize these material aspects can ring hollow and erode confidence exactly in those values we seek to promote. Let us always remember Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, the late former president of Tanzania, words of wisdom. Strive to always be your brothers and sisters' keeper. Those words of Mwalimu resonate still today with more power. The day we, the people of the United Nations and the whole world, shall all embrace the spirit of Ubuntu, the spirit of humanity, is the day we will affirm our common humanity and obligation we have for one another. The youth of this world have an important role to play to make our aspiration embodied in the United Nations Charter and host of international and regional human rights instrument a reality. It can be done. Play your part. I thank you, and you can count on our support. Over to you, Your Royal Highness.
Effects of doing what needs to be done, reminding us about how we should actually build strong foundations for change through partnership. Bringing also everybody the confidence that no voice is too small, and calling on the youth to take up the challenge of peace building through justice, which is not retribution, not revenge. The words "you owe it to the world to continue advocating" really resonate with me. We have been talking about Mandela, and we are so fortunate. I need to congratulate the organizers for the quality of the guests that are here. Dr. Duguna Stalset and Mr. Adama Dieng. This is a rare opportunity. I'm sure the delegates here appreciate that. But all the work that they are doing, the legacy of people like Mandela have to go somewhere. And it's up to you now to take this on. So thank you again, really so much for your words. We have a question, Mr. Dieng, from Brian Anibal Torres Obando from Nicaragua. And that question is, what would you recommend to individuals in the civil society, whether they are or are not involved in social movements, to stand against government oppression in a non-democratic state?
Muchas gracias for this very important question. Unfortunately, working within or under authoritarian or oppressive circumstances has consequences. Primarily because a non-democratic regime hardly allows or tolerate opposition views. My views, which I must say cannot apply uniformly, would be a stand up to the universal values you believe in, but also trying as much as possible to avoid putting your people in a harm's way. Don't expose yourself unnecessarily. Whenever possible, report to authorities for any threat, even when you know that it could be the same people preventing you from doing your activities. The aim is to avoid instances of accusation of breaching the law. Where possible, use technology when it comes to sharing information. There are, of course, different ways to work around in such environment, though clearly no textbook rules apply. Each situation must be confronted differently. It is also critical to creating alliances with those who share your values and beliefs. Avoid the scenario of them against us or vice versa. I mean, this is one of the reasons when I visited Argentina, paying tribute to the mothers of the Playa de Mayo, and had a privilege to exchange with the Minister of Education. Because I was saying what happened during the dictatorship in Argentina was finally considered by some experts as a genocide. And what I was saying was, we need to have this philosophy of integration, which is the Ubuntu. I am you, you are me. So when you arrive to reach that level, to consider the person who is in front of you as yourself, that will be the beginning. So make every effort to realize that the most serious threat is the clashes of ignorances. So make sure that you listen to each other, discuss with others, strengthen the dialogue, and Ubuntu is offering you the best platform ever. I thank you, Your Royal Highness.
Thank you again so much, Your Excellency, Mr. Dieng, for answering the question and for really pointing the finger at, putting your finger on what matters, standing up, of course, to universal values in which you believe, sharing information, which of course, as a former journalist for me, I know is extremely important, and create alliances. I thank you again so much for your very, very important and truly inspiring intervention. I will close now my part and hand over. I would just like to, before doing that, to just emphasize how important it is. Mr. Dieng mentioned the use of technology, which is so important. We know that this year, Maria Ressa was the recipient with another journalist as well of the Nobel Peace Prize. And she said something very interesting. She said that there are no facts. If there are no facts, there is no truth. And if there is no truth, there is no trust. And that is also a very important element, if I may add, in what we've been discussing. So thank you all so much.